Good morning and welcome to the Unity in Harlem Sunday service for February 19th, 2023. The theme for this month is Shout for Joy, the art of the year 404. One more time. And the subject for this morning is Susie King Taylor. And I have to thank Reverend Carol for the suggestion of this theme for the month, these amazing women, because getting introduced to Susie King Taylor was really fabulous. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with all of you. My name is Stenson. Our opening celebration song with the amazing Marie Poncé is My Dedication. Marie?
Thank you so much, Anne. Yay. Thy will is done through me this day. And you can affirm that for yourselves as well. And know that. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry how it's going to go. Just feel that now. Ooh. Here I am, Lord, use me, guide me, fill me, take me, lead me by your will. Here I am, Lord, ready to follow, to serve you, love you, be you in this world. Thy will is done through me this day. Thy will is done through me this day. Lord, you call, I answer. I'm open, listening. I hear you, feel you, move in me. Lord, I come closer, humbled, surrendered, lifted, committed to your plan in me. Thy will is done through me this day. 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 Here I am, Lord, I come. Oh, here I am, Lord, I come to you. Here I am. Thy will is done through me this day. Thy will is done through me this day. Thy will is done. Here I am, Lord. Is that your prayer today? Yes, of course it is. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing, Marie. I knew you would be amazing, and you exceeded expectations. And so perfect for this morning's presentation. So, the announcements. Unity in Harlem Zoom connection for all activities is 698 428 2725. By phone, 929 205 6099. The passcode for both is 777 7777. We hope you'll join us for fellowship immediately after the Sunday service. It's always a wonderful time of sharing and fun. You can use the same Zoom connection for the Tuesday study group from 6 to 8 p.m. With Reverend Carol, we are discussing The Universe is Calling by Eric Butterworth. And on Fridays, the Unity in Harlem Prayer Circle is from 6 to 7 p.m. Same connection for all of them. The Unity in Harlem Gospelgram for February 2023 is featured on the UIH Facebook page. And anyone wishing to speak to the minister about a personal matter is welcome to call 646 481 1844. Unity in Harlem's annual meeting will be held directly after the service on February 26th, so that's next week, on Zoom, and all are invited. Next week, February 26th, the Shout for Joy, the Art of the Year 404, One More Time, will feature Meta Vox Warwick, the first African-American sculptress to reflect African-American themes at the start of the Renaissance. After these announcements, Bob Poncé, the Wizard of Unity in Harlem, will lead us in the Unity in Harlem affirmation. And then our friend
Isaiah 55 verse 11 says, "So shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed in the thing for which I sent it." Unity affirmations speak to the power of our words, and particularly the power of I am. And so we say this affirmation every Sunday to affirm our divine nature. The words are on the screen, and I invite you to say them with me. I am an abundant, radiating center of God's love and light for peace, healing, and inner truth for all.
Today's Daily Word, Sunday, February 19th, 2023. Aspire. I aspire to help create a world that works for all. I hold a vision of an equitable world, a global community that supports and encourages all people to live fully and reach their unique potential. I feel a kinship with those who hold a similar vision and work to realize it. My past experiences and present perspectives show me what is mine to do and how I can contribute to realizing my vision. I trust I will be guided and inspired to find avenues of service where the things I do best and most enjoy doing will be most helpful. I bless people I may never meet, and I offer my time, talents, and effort to further my vision of a new way of living. With clarity of purpose, I take my place among a growing network of caring, visionary souls. The gifts he gave were to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ. And that is the daily word for today.
Let's just prepare for our meditation. Our thoughts, our prayers. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Pray. Our thoughts are prayers, the tools that we create with. Our thoughts are prayers that spirit resonates with. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of mindfulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Think. Ooh. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness. I know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Ooh. Pray, think, know, be. One. Oneness, oneness. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always, 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 always praying. What's your prayer today? It's the marvelous and illustrious, phenomenal Reverend Carol J. Hunt.
Thank you, Marie, and thank you, Anne, and Bob, and LeRoy, and good morning to everyone within the sound of my voice. How privileged we are to gather together. It is Spirit that has drawn us together, and we are so grateful. This has been a tremendous month so far, and it will continue, I know. It has been great to hear from our volunteers at Unity in Harlem about Fannie Lou Hamer, Mother Matilda Beasley, and today, Susan King Taylor. I have enjoyed them. I know you have as well, and we anticipate today and next Sunday. A couple of things I'd like to share before we have our meditation. Anne Stenson focused on the annual meeting. I would just like to say my 2 cents about that and emphasize that our annual meeting will be next Sunday on February 26th, directly after our service. And I urge everyone to attend and hear about what's up, and especially to support 2 individuals who will become members of the board, Nancy Causey and Ann Stenson. Before you know it, Lent, the Lenten season, is here. And this year, I would like to offer through our Facebook page, our Gospelgram, that you will have the opportunity to create your own Gospelgram in a way. February 22nd, this week coming up, begins the Lenten season. It will focus on the last 7 words of Jesus. And on the first Facebook page, I am hoping you will get a chance to reflect on what I am calling 7 contemplations, 7 centers of contemplations in a variety of ways that you can choose. And while I will not go through each one of them now, they will be on the Facebook page, and you can pick how you personally will decide to reflect on the 7 centers of contemplation, which are in fact the 7 last words of Jesus. I am hoping that over the course of the 40 days, this Lenten season will be a time of reflection and growth in preparation for Easter Sunday. Let's see, one more. In March, we will hear from old friends who will be bringing the message for the month. And so stay tuned, and you will hear from Reverend LeRoy Weathers, Reverend Dr. Askia Mohammed, our dear friend, and Reverend Marian Gambardella. These are going to be exciting and faith-filled opportunities to hear from Friends of Unity in Harlem over the whole course of our history. And now, let us prepare in our mind and heart for a period of relaxation and meditation. Whatever you were doing before, I invite you to set it aside. Get comfortable. Have your hands in a comfortable manner so you're not focused on them. Close your eyes and just simply breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Connect with your breath, the rhythm of your breath. As you breathe in and out, you can feel the power of the breath as you exhale. You can feel the breath as it seeks to relax your mind, your body, and your emotions. And repeat to yourself, I breathe in, I breathe out. I breathe in, I breathe out. Own your own breath. Own your own relaxation through the divine breath. In your body, search out those places that are uncomfortable physically and emotionally. Search those places. Find them and take a couple of breaths and breathe to them and simply say, peace, peace, peace be still, peace be still. Breathe in again and again. Find those places of physical discomfort and emotional ill at ease, and send the breath. Relax those places. Let go. Let go. Sink deeper into your seat. Relax. And the thoughts in your mind that keep coming and going, set them to the side. Simply say, I'll get to you later. I'll do it later. Whatever it is, set it to the side and have only the thought. I breathe in, I breathe out. I breathe in, I breathe out. And now breathe in deeply. Hold the breath. Hold the breath for 5. And then slowly exhale the breath for 7. Once more, breathe in deeply, fill your lungs, hold the breath for 5, and exhale slowly for 7. You feel quiet, you feel still. Feel quiet and still. In the quiet, inner quiet and outer quiet, turn your attention to love. This month of love. Know the love that is within you. Know the love as the very foundation of who and what you are. Spirit flows through us saying, I am love. I am love made manifest through you as you are. Breathe into this love that is at the center of who you are. God the good, expressing as you. Feel and understand. Comfort, comfort as you. You are surrounded in comfort. No harm can come to you. You are protected. Feel the harmony as love. All things working together for good. Not just now, but always. I have loved you with an everlasting love. No love as I care. I care and support all that comes into my space. I am the center of that love made manifest. I open my heart. I release love. I hold back nothing. I release love into my world. I see smiling faces. I see cooperation. I see pockets of harmony. I let love be love in me, as me. At the center of who I am love. I am so grateful. I am so thankful. I say yes. I am love. I feel at one. I am relaxed and renewed in the spirit of love. I am ready to go forth this day in love. I take a deep breath. And release the breath. I take another deep breath. Release the breath. I open my eyes and I am ready. In the consciousness and in the name of our way shower, Jesus the Christ. Amen. And so it is.
Susie King Taylor was an African-American educator, nurse, and writer who played a significant role in American history, and yet few know about her. Recently, she is beginning to gain the recognition she deserves. She was born into slavery on the Isle of Wight near Savannah in 1848 and died in Boston in 1912, just before the First World War. She was the first black nurse during the American Civil War. She enlisted as a laundress, but served for 4 years as a nurse in the 1st South Carolina Volunteer Infantry Regiment, an all-black regiment of about 2,000 soldiers that included her husband and other relatives. She was the first black woman to self-publish her memoirs entitled Reminiscences of My Life in Camp with the 33rd United States Colored Troops. She was one of the few African-American women, indeed one of the few women, to write about personal experiences supporting the troops in the midst of the war. She was the first African-American woman to teach openly in a school for formerly enslaved people, first on St. Simon's Island and later in Savannah, Georgia. And she was a leader in organizing the 67 Corps of the Women's Relief Corps in 1886. She was dedicated to, quote, aid and comfort of the boys in blue, whether they were black or white, in the twilight of their lives. Susie King Taylor was born Susan Ann Baker, the first of 9 children. When she was about 7 years old, the plantation owner allowed her grandmother, Dolly Reed, a free woman, to take Susie and her younger brother and sister to live with her in Savannah. Susie's grandmother sent her and her brother to an underground education taught by a friend, Mrs. Woodhouse, another free woman. Mrs. Woodhouse would have 20 or 30 students enter one at a time with their books covered to keep them from drawing too much attention from the police or local white people. After 2 years, Susie found instruction from another free woman of color, Mrs. Mary Beasley, Savannah's first black nun. When Susie was 12, Mrs. Beasley told her grandmother that she had taught Susie all she knew. With her grandmother's encouragement, Susie continued to take lessons from a white friend and later the son of their landlord. This education would prove paramount. The ability to read and write would later give Susie King Taylor power and protection. As the Civil War began in 1862, Susie was sent back to live with her mother. Shortly thereafter, during a battle, her uncle took advantage of the confusion to flee with his family and Susie, and they eventually ended up on Union-occupied St. Simon's Island. When the Union officers learned that Susie could read and write, she was asked to create a school for the 40 children on the island. So it was that at the age of 13, Susie Baker founded the first free African-American school for children and became the first African-American woman to teach a free school in Georgia. Adults attended her night classes. During the latter part of 1862, the general on St. Simon's Island, who was aware of the many skirmishes the men on the island had bravely fought, recruited them to join the 1st South Carolina Volunteers, which would later be known as the 33rd U.S. Colored Troops. At about age 14, Susie enrolled in the Army as a laundress. During this time, she married Edward King. Although Susie's occupational title was laundress, she supported the troops in a variety of ways. In her memoir, she recounts, for example, how she learned to handle a musket, shoot straight, and often hit the target. She even participated in picket duty, patrolling as close to the enemy as possible to alert Union troops of any movement. In addition, because Susie King had been vaccinated against smallpox, she was able to care for soldiers with this disease. Susie King gave her service willingly to the U.S. colored troops for 4 years and 3 months and never received any pay or pension. After the war ended, Susie and Edward King returned to Savannah. Susie opened a school for African American children as well as an adult night school. But strong prejudices against the newly freed African Americans prevented Edward from securing a job despite being a skilled carpenter. In September 1866, Edward King died while working as a longshoreman a few months before his child with Susie was born. As free charter schools for African Americans opened, Susie King was no longer able to make a living through teaching. During the 1870s, she worked for a series of wealthy white families and moved with one of them to Boston, where she married Russell L. Taylor in 1879. During Reconstruction, Taylor became a civil rights activist after witnessing discrimination in the South, where Jim Crow and the Ku Klux Klan terrorized African Americans. In her memoir, she says, quote, "Living here in Boston, where the black man is given equal justice, I must say a word on the general treatment of my race, both in the North and South in this 20th century. We cannot sing, 'My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty.' It is hollow mockery." She goes on to describe in detail the indignities and dangers endured by blacks in the South, which she both witnessed and experienced while traveling to Louisiana to take care of her only son, who was too sick to travel north. In the years after the Civil War, Susie continued her heroic efforts to realize the vision of equality. It was the persistence, activism, and critical patriotism of King Taylor and others that stood in the face of post-Civil War resurgent white supremacy. She was among those black people who refused to leave the public square and disappear. Susie King Taylor's devotion to Union veterans continued after the war. She organized and led the 67 Troop Corps of the Women's Relief Corps, and she responded to an order to take a census of all the Union veterans residing in Massachusetts, helping to create a complete roster of veterans to benefit her comrades. Towards the end of her life, Taylor sought to provide aid to Afro-Cubans after the end of the Spanish-American War. Taylor noted that although separation between black and white Cubans never existed before the entrance of Americans into Cuba, after Americans arrived, Afro-Cubans were being discriminated against in a similar way to what African Americans faced during Reconstruction. Susie King Taylor was buried in 1912 at Boston's Mount Hope Cemetery in the same plot as her husband. In 2018, a researcher discovered that Susie's name had not been added to the headstone. And in 2021, Boston's mayor dedicated a new memorial headstone that included Susie King Taylor's name and likeness, paid for by the Massachusetts branch of the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War. Here are Susie King Taylor's words from the end of her memoir. "Despite all the hindrances and race problems, my people are striving to attain the full standard of all other races born free in the sight of God, and in a number of instances have succeeded. Justice, we ask, to be citizens of these United States, where so many of our people have shed their blood with their white comrades, that the stars and stripes should never be polluted."
My goodness, did you get all of that? So much in a few short minutes about such a remarkable woman. a remarkable young woman who did so much. Thank you, Anne, for putting all of that together to give us a snapshot of someone who truly was dedicated and risked her life on behalf of all of us. In some ways, we're all here today because of what she and so many others did those years ago. We can even begin to think of the lineage and heritage of those who sat in those underground classrooms and went off to teach someone else, and they taught someone else, and here we are today. Yes, indeed, it is fitting to talk about Susan King Taylor one more time. And many times, when you think, I believe Anne said it wasn't until 2021 that her name was included on the marker where she was buried next to her husband. Today, in my comments, to link these remarkable women and today Susie King Taylor to the spiritual aspect of our life, the spiritual depth that we all are, I'm reminded of a parable that Jesus shared during his short time among us. You know, as I think about it, women in general, and African women in specifically, have been overlooked in terms of their contributions. In fact, African American women were actually a non-entity that did not really have to be dealt with. And that's why selecting our few is so important to the idea of repeating it again and again and again, their contributions. There are countless women who will never be remembered, whose names will never be in the history books, because for some, they were the helpers. For other women, like Susie King Taylor. The female species are uniquely created with their five senses readily accessible for the most part. From a human perspective, well, those five senses are also in men. However, acknowledging and accessing the five senses is sometimes left to chance. And for the most part, we don't really give them a lot of thought in terms of their power. When we grow in consciousness, however, we begin to realize that we have this power to not only control our senses, but to actually decide how we can use them. Part of understanding how to use them is knowing that the five senses are multidimensional. It's like really having 10 senses. Because an expression as five They are more than that. So much more than that. For instance, two people could attend a movie together, and as they are exiting the movie, one says to the other, "Boy, that was a great movie." The other says, "Oh, I don't know. I don't think so." The person then begins to say everything that they thought the movie lacked. You can see where this is going, right? An informative exchange begins between the two people, or not, depending on how each acknowledges and assesses the use of their senses in the moment. So back to Jesus and his parable. This parable is known by several different names. Sometimes it's called the wise and foolish virgins, the 10 virgins, or the 10 bridesmaids. And I want to share this parable with you right now because it's easier to feel the flow of what I'm about to say. The kingdom of heaven, by the way, it's Matthew 25. The kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of 10 bridesmaids who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. But only 5 of them were wise enough to fill their lamps with oil, while the other 5 were foolish and forgot. So when the bridegroom was delayed, they lay down to rest until midnight, when they were roused by the shout, "The bridegroom is coming, the bridegroom is coming. Come out and welcome him." All the girls jumped up, trimmed their lamps. Then the 5 who hadn't any oil begged the others to share with them, for their lamps were going out. But the others replied, "We haven't enough. Go instead to the shops and buy some for yourself." But while they were gone, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was locked. Later, when the other 5 returned, they stood outside calling, "Sir, open the door for us, please. Open the door for us." But he called back, "Go away. It's too late." So, stay awake. Be prepared, for you do not know the date or the moment of the bridegroom's return. Jesus uses the language, the familiar ritual of marriage celebrations of the Hebrews to tell an everyday story that has embedded in it another story, a story with spiritual meaning. The traditional church has a couple of interpretations. One, the young virgin is a young girl who becomes the bride of Christ and married to the church as a lifetime vocation. You see the connection there with the illustration? The message is about the second coming of Jesus. This is another interpretation. Be ready to enter the kingdom, the marriage feast. The lamp and oil is a symbol of your life and fill according to what you believe. This is in stark contrast to Unity's interpretation that teaches the 10 virgins represent our 5 senses. Again, the story is told as 10 virgins to highlight the fact that each sense has 2 sides to it, an outer expression and an inner expression. An outer and an inner. It is not to say that either one should be looked, particularly the outer, should be looked down on in any way. No, these are two different expressions that each of us have with our five senses, which makes them 10. They are fed by the same source, divine mind. But like other dimensions within us, they need divine intelligence to give them direction and meaning. We could say prayer is the first of them, the first activity that gives them direction. In this instant, we can speculate how Susie King Taylor listened to her 10 virgins and was always ready. She stepped in each time something had to be done. She felt the call to step right in, not give it a whole lot of thought. She knew what she had to do. And as was shared, she was born into slavery, but had the opportunity to be taught to read and write. And so now let's look at those senses and how she listened and used them. Sight. She saw with eyes of understanding and compassion. She saw what children and adults could be, so much more than what was appearing. She could have stayed fearful and not offered her gifts, but she was ready to offer what she had. Her hearing was so sensitive that she felt the need to write passes for men to be out beyond curfew, 9 p.m. in Savannah. In the parable, at the midnight hour, the bridegroom came, and the 5 unprepared senses wanted the prepared senses to share their oil. She could have withheld her ability rather than pay it forward by writing those passes, which she could have been held accountable for. It is not possible to change the outer expression of the senses. You don't change them from outer and then to inner. This is what they are. The goal is to grow in spiritual consciousness so that your response is always from what the inner sense is attempting to be saying. The bridegroom is that urging or sense you feel from within that is guiding you to your next step of growth or inviting you to your next endeavor, the marriage feast. Our heroine today kept her lamp lit. Another way to say it, she stayed prayed up. When opportunities presented themselves, she was ready. The touch is not physical. It's more about when Susie King Taylor decides to call out the army for lack of appreciation and sympathy for colored soldiers who fought without any recognition. Susie King Taylor created a forever memorial about them through her memoir. She could have become bitter and stayed that way. And taste. There is in the Old Testament a familiar scripture. Taste and see the Lord is good. The Lord of your being is good. The inner meaning is about what you like, choosing what you like. Taste joy, taste love, taste forgiveness, taste peace, taste freedom. Being able to discriminate between that which does not serve you and brings you anger or something else, or what you can usher in of the kingdom of heaven in the present moment. Susan King Taylor brought the kingdom experience every time she opened a school for colored children, and she opened many. And finally, smell. This is not about being able to physically smell. It is being sensitive to energy levels, being in tune with your intuitive sense. Susan King Taylor had a deep intuitive sense of herself when at the age of 13, she founded her first free African American school for children. I couldn't help but think to myself, what was I doing at 13? Perhaps the question isn't what was I doing at 13, but what am I doing today with my eyes, ears, nose, fingers, and taste? Feelings generated through the five senses from a spiritual perspective. As her life is a lot to take in, what she accomplished and what she responded to constantly, so it is with the challenge of our five senses. However you pose the question, the life of Susan King Taylor should give us pause to listen deeply to our five senses for our greatest growth or contribution. Just be ready. Be ready. Shout for joy. One more time for Susan King Taylor. Bless you all. Let us join in prayer requests, tithes, and offering. The parable reminds us to be ye also ready, for you know not when the master comes. The master is the spiritual consciousness that speaks to us from within. When it comes, we are to be ready, alert, shedding misgivings, fears, uncomfortableness, secure in the awareness Spirit goes before us, preparing our way. There is nothing to fear. In these few moments, we let ourselves listen. Listen. Listen deeply to what our senses are saying to us. And we, along with Susan King Taylor and so many others, are ready to do all that Spirit calls us to do. Being ready is not for some far off occasion or place. It is in the here and now. It is in this moment. We can bring forth the joys of the Spirit into the lives of so many. We breathe into this truth with thanksgiving. So thankful and grateful. Thankful and grateful for the divine Spirit within us and for our senses, which is our guide. We know this in the name and nature of the Christ. Amen. We think now of the gift that we would share. We give thanks for the bounty of the Spirit and the prosperity that flows in to our world and offers us the opportunity to share. We bless these gifts as they come from all quarters, and we bless those who give generously, consistently to Unity in Harlem. We give thanks for each of you as we seek to share the word of the deep and powerful vision of ourselves as children of Spirit. This is our message, and we are grateful for your help in delivering this message, that each man, woman, and child is created in the image, the loveful image of God. We see our prayer that we share every Sunday at this time. I will read it first, and you will repeat it with me after. Divine love flowing through me blesses and increases all that I give, and all that I receive. Shall we know it together? Divine love flowing through me blesses and increases all that I give and all that I receive. So be it.
J. Rosamond Johnson was born in Bahamas, and he lived most of his life in New York City, producing shows like Sleeping Beauty and the Beast in 1901 and The Red Moon, which is about Native American and African American love. This is often called the Negro National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the Lord. Out from the weary past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of a bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who has brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the faces of God where we met Thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget Thee. Shadow beneath Thy native land. Though he get your stay, he they home, wanna clean the key that I need. Yeah, so you heard the last part of it. It's a Cherokee anthem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you didn't understand know what that was.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody?
Okay. We are ready for our prayer protection
Great.
with thanks to everybody.
Yeah, what a wonderful production. Yay. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yay. Uh, so we have a special treat. We're gonna have Tommy sing our peace song for us.
Wonderful.
Yay! Hey, and join us afterwards on our Zoom. Everybody, awesome talk.
All
New way of
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin